We're talking to Joe Grano. Now, I want to ask you something. And for those of you who are just tuning in, he is the chairman and CEO of Centurion Holdings. And you've heard his curriculum vitae up till now. I want to play thought experiment. I tap you as my czar. Not the car czar, the czar. You were the czars of czars. And you're going to...
My nickname in high school.
I want to... Really?
Yeah, Joey the Czar.
I want to give you the duty of fixing our economy. And I want you to explain this wonderful idea of the American Dream Mortgage and how you would work it. What do we need to do very succinctly?
We need another leg to this stool. We've done a decent job in providing liquidity to the markets. But we cannot allow the continuation of decline in real estate and foreclosures. And the reason for that is every community that we live in, the lifeblood happens to be property taxes. And if we keep allowing this deterioration of value, taxes are going to down, and every local budget is going to be a serious problem, particularly
because property taxes are assessed to the value, and if the value decreases, that means that so all of a sudden, if you're in Newark or whatever it is, how do you pay for infrastructure and police and all that?
So going back to the earlier example where somebody's mortgage payment doubled, what I would like to do is go back to the VA mortgage. When I came out of the Army, my country helped me by giving me a VA mortgage, which had about a 1 to 2 point break in the interest rate. And we're issuing Treasury bonds today around 4.5% for 30 years. So let people refi who are in trouble at a 5% 50-year amortization, but with an assumable mortgage. That's what the VA was so beautiful about, because assumable for 7 years. By the mortgage being assumable, the value of the house is going to go up. Because you can, if I buy that house from you in the next 7 years,
I can unload it.
I'm going to be able to have a lower monthly payment. If you make a profit, neighbor that I just helped, you have to share that profit with the taxpayer, with the Treasury. So this precludes people who don't need it to ask for it. Secondarily, I'm going to put a credit score on you, almost like a bankruptcy, saying you have a subsidized mortgage, because I don't want you to take this relief and go out and borrow more. So for that 7-year period, we're going to help you get back on your feet and keep you in the house. And what's ultimately happens here, when you buy a car, you don't buy a car based on the price of the car. You buy it based on a monthly payment. And that's what we have to do with these homes in trouble. What can I afford a month? And how can I do it in such a way that the taxpayer gets paid back? And matter of fact, you're going to share the profit. We do this, will at least lessen the spiral that we're in right now and foreclosures and killing real estate values. Stabilize that, and we can get hopefully out of this recession in a
Joe Grano, when there's something that I called economic Darwinism, survival of the fittest, natural selection. I want to talk about the big three in cars. You know, DeSoto's not around anymore, and Studebaker and others as well. The buggy whip corporations went out. Typewriter, Smith Corona. They had to retool, revamp, move on. How do you, as my czar, determine when natural economic selection takes place? GM, you've had your time. And when do you realize, no, the attendant damage, the attendant loss of pensions and employment far surpasses whatever immediate liability we have? How do you balance that? What businesses go? Because we just can't obviously bail out everything. What's the Joe Grano solution for that?
Look, I don't think that there is a magic pill that can answer that question in all circumstances. You know, many an airline went out. Remember Braniff and companies like that. And I also think there's a distinction between American government helping industry versus nationalization. I am not an advocate for nationalization. You know, show me how well we run our own government, Fannie Mae, and you're going to tell me you're going to run a private sector now? I doubt it.
How can the government run a car company?
So that's my point. Right. I don't think they can. I think they don't have the capability, and they're not adept at it. Now, go back to Chrysler when Iacocca was there. We helped Chrysler. He went down he took $1, he got concessions from the union, turned the company around, and the American taxpayer made money on that investment, on the stock that they owned in Chrysler when they lent the money back then.
Right.
I think where we are now, we have a model, an industrial model. But let me ask, I would ask the American public this. Am I better off going out and spending $10 billion on a stimulus plan to create employment, or should I spend the same $10 billion to keep employment? You have 138,000 workers in the big three, probably another 500,000 workers in this nation that depend on them. They sell parts or they make parts, et cetera. Now, I would not lend them a dime unless they came in here with a restructured program that says you're going to adjust your model to the real world. You read these numbers, $75 an hour for an assembly worker. Well, really, it's 45, but 15 in a benefits package that's better than any benefits package anywhere in the world. It's too good. And 15 for retirees, which gets it up to the 70. Well, if you can create a car without those benefits and union wages south of the Mason-Dixon line for $40 an hour versus 75, you have a $1,700 advantage in the cost of the car. Well, that's the real world. So what are you going to do about it, Lieutenant? I want to see the concessions from the unions. I want to see a different model. I want to see fewer brands consolidate. And yes, if you make sense, we'll bridge you and help you make it because we want to stimulate and retain employment.
What industries do you not, how do you determine who doesn't get that? And more importantly, how do you instill in the consumer? I mean, if I'm going to buy it's like I'm going to say, Joe Grano, you want me to buy a GM car? I don't even know if the government's going to handle warranties. I've lost credibility, or you've lost credibility, credere. I believe if they were to go bankrupt, I'm hearing Krugman say one thing and Friedman say another. Some people say, oh, the heck with it. They should just go that way because for years, GM could have had the electric car and they didn't. Okay, fine.
I don't want to use the word social good in the wrong context. But if the social good is defined as bettering the whole, then I think you review it differently. Why is there a distinction in FDIC insurance? The government's insuring your deposit. The government's insuring your mortgage. Well, the government does step in when it does apply to the social good of the majority. There are certain industries at times, the insurance industry, the savings and loan, the banking industry, and now they're arguing the automobile industry. I wouldn't put it in the same context, but given where we are in our economy and what's now a 7% unemployment rate going to 9%, well, maybe there is a way to give them some help for the aggregate social good. But again, not without a price. You're going to show me that you're going to restructure. I want to see the concessions. I want to see a model that is viable in today's economy and society. And as a populace, and I suggested this to you earlier, when we grew up, everything said made in Japan. Well, you know what, America? I'm going to be the first one. So the lease is up on my Audi. I'm only going to buy American. I want to buy a car made in America. Now, you want to buy a Lexus? You can find one made in America. You want to buy a Toyota? You can find one made in America. Because right now,
how do we do that?
We're exporting or importing about, in China's case, 5-1, Japan's case 2-1, and it's not a fair balance because we're 50% of the world's market capitalization, given our businesses and our equities. So when we're in, it's time to internalize a little bit here and start understanding the pressure points of our economy. And right now, I would suggest to everybody, buy American. Nylon, nylon, nylon.